Hi, I'm Tealish, and you're watching Coffee and Clicks. Today we're joined by Ian Eggleston and Simeon Bruce of the Dial H for Heroclix Podcast. So welcome.
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us on.
I think it's a really important cause. It's a really important thing that we're going to be talking about. This new charity, a new cause called IPF. Could you care to just say what is IPF and talk about it a little bit?
Sure. So the IPF is a fundraiser that Simeon and myself have been working on since we left Worlds in 2022. We met a lot of really cool international players there, and that spawned the IPF, which stands for International Player Foundation. And so in an interview that Simeon did with Andrea, a player from Italy, he detailed his just horrendous travel. I mean, what was it, 30 hours, Simeon, right around there?
It was, yeah, super long layovers. I think he ended up spending the night in like O'Hare Airport, stuff like that. Yeah.
So, we heard about that. And then, obviously these flights aren't cheap. I think he said he paid around $700, which, on the scale of things is pretty cheap, but like still a $700 flight to play or to go play Heroclix for a couple days. I mean, that's a bit of a, inhibitor for getting to the tournament. And so on our drive back from Memphis, we were all talking about, just different ways that we could kind of get the international community more involved with Worlds. And, with how prohibitive those costs are, we were saying, why don't we find a way to raise money for them? And so that's where the International Player Foundation came in. And so in this 4-month window, we've been going back and forth on different things we wanted to do, just kind of different ideas. And, with the kind of minimal time we had this year, we understood that this was going to be kind of a, sink or swim kind of year. We'll see what happens. But this is something that we do plan on continuing annually. It's something that we want to hopefully make year round. And we do have some interesting information about that later. But as of right now, it's relatively new. It's something that we just kind of hit the ground running with. And the goal of the IPF is to just raise money to help pay for the flights of international players. In 2022, we saw Saul Elizondo win the whole tournament. Mm-hmm. So the power, the capability, the players, they're out there. They just might not be able to make it to Memphis. So we wanted to get more players here. It's really that simple.
Yeah. I think personally, like, I know I've made the joke. I've seen it made online. It's called Heroclix Worlds, but it just doesn't usually feel like Worlds. It feels like the same crowd you see at Nationals, plus or minus a few other people. And so, yeah, it was a combination of that, meeting Andrea and like just like some other really cool people, the whole Toxic Clicks crew, meeting them, really wanting to get more of the international community involved. And then I guess shout out to Anthony Barnstable. He's the one that he grabbed me and was like, hey, you should really interview this guy. And I never would have picked him out of the crowd had Anthony not given me the rundown of like his story. And I was like, let's get this on tape. This is really fun. And then from that, it just kind of snowballed into this idea. But yeah, I think that with a lot of people like always saying like, oh, it's Heroclix Worlds, but like it doesn't really represent the world. I think it's just cool that in a small part we'll push it in that direction where it's actually like an international event. It'll feel more like an international event. And I think that's where Worlds should be going. Like, I think that's where it should be. Like, I would like to say that I'd be interested in Worlds like traveling, like, they host it in different countries and stuff. But then that's going to just clear out like half of their player base that does show up, if not more. So I don't see that ever happening. But if we can do a small thing to bring a few people here, then yeah.
And I think a lot of it too is this year does feel kind of like a proving year. Really the goal coming into this was to make something happen, just something. And I think that if people can see what we're capable of, through fun events, getting different people involved, raising money for this, I think people will come together and they will see that this is a really cool thing that we can do. And honestly, just personally, I know that if I lived outside the US and during September, that week-long event where everyone's taking pictures of the new figures and what they played and all this and all that, I know I'd just be dying to get there. But I would also probably be in the same boat where it's like, I really can't justify that amount of money to go play there. It's not just a simple vacation to fly across the ocean. So, um, yeah, it's it's just really cool, and I'm hoping we can make something happen this year.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a great cause. I think it's great for the Heroclix community in general, not just for Worlds, but I mean just to give an incentive to players from other countries that may have trouble getting here to especially with the cost, to have them get involved, and have them compete, and make it feel more like a world community with Heroclix. Yeah.
That is the goal. Make Worlds feel more like Worlds. And Simeon is so right. I've definitely seen those same jokes of, oh, yeah, it's Worlds. So hopefully we can change that at least a little bit. Oop, hit my desk.
And so do you have a link, or where can people find ways to donate to the IPF?
Sure. So the best source of information that we have for the IPF is found on our Facebook page. That is just it's Facebook/the HIPF, because originally it was Heroclix International Players Foundation, but cut off the Heroclix, the name felt a little long. And so all of our information gets posted on there. We do have a YouTube video available on the Dial H channel that goes into things a bit more. But if you did want to donate, it's pinned on the Facebook page as well. We have a fundraiser page where you can directly donate to. And so that's all completely transparent. You can see just exactly how much has gone in. And for transparency purposes, we will be posting, when we purchase the flights. So we just want to be as clean as possible with this. We want to let the community know that everything that goes to us, we're not taking a penny of it. We're investing a lot of our own time, our own resources, our own money to make this happen.
We'll actually be running at a huge net loss personally.
This is true.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It is currently, it's directly linked to a PayPal that I own. And I mean, the community knows where I live. I've been trading long enough. If they want to grab their pitchforks and stuff, I'm 100% going to be transparent on this, though, showing what the PayPal shows at the end of everything. And then, like Ian was getting into before I cut him off, how much the flights and stuff will have all the receipts like that. So if anyone really wants to check the books, any leftover amount, in whatever small tertiary amount that may be, I think we'll probably just roll over into next year's fund. It'll just be a little nest egg for that. But yeah.
And so, that will be all transparent. And so you can go directly to our Facebook page. The pin post will have that fundraiser, or you can just check us out on the fundraiser site. If you look at the Dial H Facebook page or the HIPF Facebook page, it's all visible there. You can check out everything, give us a follow, and stay updated.
Great. And also, I know in talking to you about the IPF, you had mentioned something about a giveaway. Could you give us any details about the giveaway and how people can enter?
Sure. So the giveaway is something that is still kind of in the works. Our timetable has been really wonky. We've hit quite a few snags on that. But we will be doing a giveaway of some various figures. Unfortunately, can't talk about quite yet what we're giving away. But those will be done through a live stream. And then on the Facebook page, we will have free opportunities to enter in. And so this will be done through various things like subscribing, commenting, giving a 5-star review to different podcasts and channels that have helped us out. So that'll be pretty simple. If you stay tuned to the Facebook page, you'll see all the ways to enter there. And then the live stream drawing for that will be done either sometime in early April or late March. Still just kind of locking down a date. It's been a bit of a headache to plan all the timing of this. The scale of it has been a little big, and then just coordinating with kind of everybody else involved. But yes, there is a giveaway. It's free to enter. You don't have to donate it. We'd love for you to donate. Initially, we wanted to tie the donation to the giveaway, but due to gambling laws in the U.S. and just kind of around the world, you can't give randomized prizing for a donation. That's against the law. We did not know that, but we fixed that. So no need to worry.
Okay. And then, as far as, Also, another thing that you had mentioned was an online tournament. So there's going to be a tournament held on Discord or on Roll20.
Correct. So that will be done on Roll20. It is April 1st, Saturday. It'll be at 12 p.m. And then I'm still going back and forth with Brad Broyles, who will be helping us out with running that. We're still just kind of deciding if we want to do 4 or 5 rounds. We won't do a top cut just because these things can be a bit time consuming. You're already spending your whole Saturday. We don't need to go all the way into the night. But then we will prize that out. We do have some exciting prizing for that, including this guy behind me will be part of the prize pool. Let's show him off. A new Legacy Carnage. We'll be giving him away as prizing for that tournament. So expect to see him there. We've had a few other channels reach out to us as well for prizing on that. Heroclix headquarters, shout out to Lucas Lyon Landis. He's a great guy. He is donating a God Emperor Doom to us to give away, which, I mean, come on, that guy is just sweet. And then Paul Cote as well has donated a Disney Plus God Pack. And then the other prizing, I know all that's pretty exciting. There's more exciting stuff to it, but I have to keep that a secret for right now. So stay tuned to the Facebook. We'll post about that more. But yes, tournament, April 1st, Saturday, noon, and then it'll either be 4 to 5 rounds of Swiss. And it'll be all in for the IPF. We'll also have some charity probs available for purchase. And you'll be able to buy those every round if you'd like. So
yeah, and similar to other charity tournaments that have happened before, if you can't find time to play, but you know somebody that's playing, or you just want to root for somebody, feel free to buy them some charity probs to use up in their, because now without theme team probs, you're going to need them.
Yeah, you're going to be hurting for them. I know planning Brad's event this last Saturday, it was like, I think I'm just screwed on this rule.
So do you know, so with the event, do you know anything about the format other than that there will be charity props? But
sorry, completely skipped that over. It is 300 modern, and Spider-Man will be legal for it, so people can test out some of that new stuff. Throw something new together. That Carnage Silver Surfer looks a little nasty. I expect to see him, but yes, 300 modern. Can't believe I brushed over the detail of what the tournament is. So,
okay, great. And those charity props, just for people that don't know, like how do they work?
So the dollar amount, that is something that is still just in talks a little bit. It will either be like $1 for a prob with a maximum of 3, or it'll be $5 for 3 probs, one of the two, or some combination of both. But essentially, you'll be able to pay money at any point in any round if you'd like to re-roll a die, or dice, I suppose. So, you crit miss, it's like, I'll pay $1 to re-roll that. So essentially, it's just, donate to charity, you can have another shot at that roll.
Awesome. All right. And is there anything else that either of you wanted to say about the IPF in general?
Simeon?
I will say just a frequently asked question is, are we an actual like nonprofit, like on paper? And no, not currently. I am in the process of getting that done so that like legally for tax purposes we will be considered a nonprofit, but the process does take about a month, like just shy of like a full month. And so whether or not we're going to be a like tax exempt charity by the end of like this tournament or by the end of this charity drive, I don't know. But as of right now, we're not. So that's why we're using a third party. That's why we're using Fundraiser. By this time next year, if we're able to run it again and we're doing everything, we won't have to have that middleman cutting into like the charity profits, the possible like, money, because I don't remember what percentage they take, but I have noticed that they do take a percentage. So luckily by this time next year, we will be fully funding it just like ourselves. And I don't know if I'm assuming it'll be a write-off, but I'm not sure exactly how that works for tax purposes.
Yep.
Okay.
So we are not a nonprofit quite yet, but working on it.
Yeah. So I would encourage everybody that's listening or watching to donate to the IPF, help out those international players. and stay tuned for more information about the online event and the giveaway. And but definitely donate. Definitely go to fundraiser or go to the Dial H Facebook page and donate to that cause, so we can help get international players to Worlds. I think that's a really important cause. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, also, I mean, just in general, I mean, you mentioned that the tournament is going to be 300 modern with Spider-Man Beyond Amazing being tournament legal in that event for April 1st. What do you think about the set in general?
Oh man, I personally love this set so far. I'm not super crazy about the chases, but I think the super rare slot is awesome. I think the rares have a lot of good figures in there, and honestly, the commons, I think some of them have some pretty crazy effects. Like I've been really enjoying kind of seeing everything come out lately, and just I don't know. I think like typically I decide if I'm going to buy a case or not of a set, and this is a buy a case set for me. I like the entirety of it, and I don't know. The chases are like they seem worthwhile. They're just not quite my cup of tea, or I suppose cup of coffee if I'm on this show.
I'm actually drinking tea right now. It's lavender chamomile tea. I feel like I drink tea way more often than I should on this show, because I feel like I'm misrepresenting, like, but that's tea right there. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I have my it's a I mean, I'm not using my trademark mug, but I do have it here. I do have, that's for branding, and then this is this is the Yeti. I've been using this lately. But the chases. I mean, I'm Simeon, what do you think about the set?
I'm above like the same mind. I think this is like a case set for me. I like the CUR. I think there's plenty of fun stuff to go on in there. And then I've never been a big fan of every character being Venom, or now every like chase being Carnage. But I know that there are those fans out there, so I can trade for like the stuff that I'm missing from the set or I want. And then obviously equipment, adding like value to certain boosters is just like always, that's always a selling point for me. It was with Wonder Woman, it was with X of, or 10 of Swords, X of Swords, whichever. Those kinds of things, like always, like I have this little calculation in my head where I'm like, cool generics, which this one, it's got a rare generic, which is interesting, and I'm gonna try and get as many of those as I can. And then just like equipment, I think the brick incentive being the awesome legacy cards. Is this the first set that has mostly like Spider-Man? I mean, I think this is the first Spider-Man set with legacy cards, because they just knocked it out of the park with like some of their choices. I know I was super excited to see the Frogman one. That's one that I collected a whole bunch of right before the Wonder Woman rules dropped, and then Knockback was gone. And so now that there's Knockback and he's got a legacy card, Frogman will live on in my collection now, all 6 of them. So
6.
Yeah, and I'm not trading any of them. I'm gonna run that Frogman drop off team.
You gotta get some
awesome.
boots on that team too. Really.
Oh yeah, give them each a different color lantern ring so they can like sidestep, knock back, drop the boot. Yeah.
The 6-arm Spider-Man is another legacy card. I know he's not great, but I just love that he gets to roll 4 dice. That is so wacky.
Oh yeah.
It is really funny that he only has a single target. Like, what do you got to do? You got 6 arms. You can only punch one guy. Like, what's going on there? But yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park with a lot of the legacy choices. There's a few that I'm like the rookie Spider-Man. I was like, I guess, but
yeah,
the rest of them really solid. How do you guys feel about Carnage? I'm gonna turn the tables here.
Okay.
Carnage getting a legacy card, like. I mean, he's a really cool figure. I've loved having him on my shelf, but to bring him back to playability, like, ooh, and he's good too. He's really solid. I don't know.
I don't
know how you make a 10-point piece better than it was originally for 10 points. Like, man, they tacked on a lot of extra utility.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those polarizing ones because some people hate the fact that it's so good, and then some people are like, "Ooh, yeah, I have to get one." So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I know we were talking behind the scenes before we started this episode. We were talking about how many is an appropriate number of carnages. But I mean, they're just so expensive. So.
Yeah.
But I've heard people say that
say
that two is kind of like, I saw someone say that 2 is kind of like diminishing returns, but then some people are saying like you have to have like 3 or like armies of carnages. I don't know what, like, is 1 enough. I have one that I just had from when it came out, so I'm just gonna stick with that one, I think. But they're expensive, so. I don't know if is 2 really necessary? That's, I guess, what I'm wondering.
I think the boat I'm in, the way that I look at Carnage is you're paying 10 points for him. And at the very worst, I think Carnage is pay 10 points to make your opponent waste an action.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's an argument for 2, but the fact that his trait is it's a unique effect, like it's a unique modifier. I mean, maybe if you had like 1 in one corner and 1 in the other, and it's like deal with both, but it's like, I mean, how much do they really have to do that? Like, are they gonna? Maybe you can force some weird things with like 2 or 3 like that if you really want that super senses reduction. It's not like his retail is bad, but I don't think it's like blow you out of the water amazing. And with how many good 20 and 30 point characters they are, it's crazy to say, but it can be kind of a hard sell. So I think my personal opinion is 1 Carnage is enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I see the argument for like 2 or 3, but I'm not going to go buy 2 or 3. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think 1's enough. But don't forget, you can play the online event for the IPF tournament.
Play 30 in that. Yeah.
And you can
Play 30,
win one.
baby. Build a map with
Well, you can
Carnage,
win one too.
map.
You can win one, right? Isn't it one of the prizes? So
This is true. Boom, we'll put him in the camera again. This will be one of the prizes for that tournament. So if you're looking for a Carnage and you don't want to spend the money, come play in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, like with the new map size, there's going to be a while where he'll be able to be put on the old size map, or like the 2x3 map instead of a 2x2 map. But on a 2x2 map, he is an easy thing to score.
Yeah.
There's a lot of figures that have full map reach just on their own. Like World's Finest is one of them. And Dark Phoenix isn't modern legal, but in silver, that's a sidestep and a 10 range triple target. So if you're running 3 Carnages in silver, there's a lot of stuff that can hit you from across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, he's still just a 10 or a 16 toughness. And so not a hard target. The big thing is if you can get one to heal up, just like Wendigos, just like Carnage was when he was originally around. If you can get one to heal up, then it becomes a big headache, and your opponent has to sink a lot into like that 10 points. So I agree. I think 1 is more than enough. I think 2, depending on your team, you throw like Uatu with a 20 defend, then we're talking like maybe that's what your plan is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting. The healing past the starting line does bring an interesting point of conversation, because it's like if you are playing 3 and you really want that effect, like if Super Senses is going crazy in the meta, which kind of is, you get one of those to heal up past its starting line. It's like now your opponent's sinking what, 2-3 actions to kill this guy just for 10 points. Like I see the argument for multiple, but I think a lot of people will just stick with 1 due to just kind of the prohibitive cost nature of him.
I mean, and that effect that he does with the super senses, or he minuses 1 to super senses, that's just really good.
It's insane.
I mean, it's almost necessary in this day and age.
Yeah.
Other than the legacy cards, like, what are you most excited about this set? What figures, or what do you think is going to make a splash?
The one that comes to mind for me is Madam Web. We were just talking about team probability control being gone. And her use of prob twice a turn, her rally die that can replace senses rolls for only 30 points. That seems like a pretty good starting point. Like two rerolls for 30 points, especially with, I mean, just looking at like the cost of probability control with theme teams gone, it has certainly gone up. So I think you're getting a pretty good deal. I think she'll definitely make some teams. The rally ability is great. And yeah, 2 uses of prop. I mean, you can't argue with that.
Mhm.
So that's one of my number one picks for making a splash for sure.
I think even though I joked about it heavily on the podcast that we recorded, the Prime Kingpin I think is an insane piece for 90 points. Like
Yeah.
mission point wise, it's possible. And then just as like a 90 point, I mean, you don't even have to play him at 90, but obviously why not? That's just a really good investment on points. And I think for 90 points, he might be like the best point for point piece in that range, just out there right now. He is really hard to deal with, really hard to take down, and then he's got like a really cool effect that goes along with it. So that's one that I would not be upset with if I got that prime instead of a chase. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Another thing with that Kingpin, like the number one thing I look at with him is like you're playing in a timed setting. This guy has 3 stop clicks with reduced pen impervious, full dial of outwit himself. He's got some charge flurry. Like, his damage output might not be like crazy, but
And he's got regen.
he's
where
not dying.
he doesn't have the die result if it's like either if he doesn't have 2 action tokens or does. If he has no action tokens, he doesn't have the result of his regen. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If I'm sitting across from that, like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to waste my time attacking him. Like, in 45 minutes, you're not going to kill that guy. Like, you have to sink so much into dealing with him. So, I don't know. I think Prime Kingpin has possibility.
He's definitely good. I mean, he has a low speed, which is good flavor-wise, because, Kingpin should not be a fast person. But, I mean, like... but I mean, he's still good. He kind of reminds me of like Immortal Hulk or something like that. Like for that points.
It actually would be a good Immortal Hulk like sculpt swap. If for whatever reason you didn't like the Undying version, you can have this one that's also kind of Undying.
What about you, Tony? What's one figure that you think is making a splash?
Actually, I'm gonna say a group of figures, the starter set.
Yeah.
I think the starter set's really good.
It is.
They're not bad.
I mean, that Spiderling with the
that 40-point one? Yeah. It's like I think it's like free in the middle of the game, and it kind of says like in the middle of like at any time. So I'm like, can I interrupt an action to like do this? But I don't know if that's a rules question, but yeah, that
I'm sure it'll
pick a die. I can pick a 1 or a 6. Like that's part of die replacement that always sucked was maybe you didn't roll a good die. You rolled like a 3-4 and she just takes that out of the equation where it's like, I get the good roll.
Yeah. You get it once per game, but I mean, like how many times are you going to really use it? Like, once per game is definitely, it could be enough, for it could swing a game.
Yeah. Time platform Doom saw play. He gets 2 dice, but this is 40 points as opposed to 75. Obviously, he did other things, but I think the potential's there.
Yeah. And the other figures from the starter set, just they're really cool. Like the Spider-Man with the triple target gives everybody Earthbound neutralize.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Power we haven't heard from in a while.
That bullseye seemed kind of like crazy with his he can throw an object and then take the damage value, uses normal printed damage value, so he can throw objects and split it under. Did you see the bullseye on the starter set?
Yeah, he has triple target bullseye. And when he uses,
so he can throw objects
like a range
multi-target
terrain action or something.
Yeah, he can use a range terrain action, multi-target. So I don't know how you would give him like super strength, but that would be insane if you could give him super strength, and then he could like
exo specs.
But then he would be able to pick up like elevated or something like that, and then like throw it at somebody and multi-target somebody with a block of elevated, and then get a damage bonus from that. I don't know. It seems pretty crazy.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I hadn't seen him yet, but honestly, like I did kind of gloss over the starter set a bit because, like, typically you don't expect it, but I remember seeing that Spiderling and going, "Wait, what?" Like,
Yeah.
it's good to see some power in the starter sets, though. I think that's definitely better than. I mean, the previous one with Batman was like, like Raven's all right. They're not bad figures. They're just not like particularly interesting. So
Yeah.
I definitely prefer like, more on the strong meter than the weak. So
Another thing that I found interesting in the set was the that they continued on swap teams.
yeah.
We're getting Sinister Syndicate swap. So I almost like immediately today, out like during my lunch break, I was making Sinister Syndicate teams. I was like, how can I do this and like find the optimal swaps for Sinister Syndicate? I was like making a scientist team and like, because I think scientist is going to be a strong keyword.
Yeah.
What keywords do you think are going to be strong, like in the next? Or
just going back to that like Sinister Syndicate like swap, who's like the Sinister Syndicate piece that you want to build around? Like what's the character that really makes that swap worth it?
that's what I was actually looking for, and I didn't really see one. I like that Vulture a lot, and I think
He's cool.
I mean, not only is he cool, but like, okay, it says if he hits his rally die, he can move up to 6 squares, right? And then he can free place a character that he moved through, right? That could be a friendly character. You can move through a friendly character, 6 squares, and then place them adjacent. And it's almost like a free TK.
It's better though because TK's 4 now instead of 6. So
yeah, and you need line of fire for TK. Like this you wouldn't, because he can just fly 6 squares.
That is interesting.
So I think
also,
that's
it's similar to the Chase Falcon from Disney Plus, but he only has that on his top line, and this guy does it for 50. So yeah, I mean, granted, you do have to have your opponent roll a 6, which isn't great, but I mean, it happens.
Yeah. So I mean, the Vulture kind of caught my eye. I thought he's got potential. I mean, if you do collect those rally dice, he can get pretty good. Even without the rally dice, he's like, pretty decent.
The Prime Iron Spider. Is that his name? Iron Spider?
Yep. Oh yeah, Iron Spider. That one's really good.
Yeah, he's interesting for sure. Giving the Sinister Syndicate protected outwit. I think if you're playing a character like Doc Ock with his Mastermind, the whole dial, and the bystanders that he generates, he's pretty much gonna need that outwit protection, because one outwit to his defense, he's done for. So I feel like that has to be on the team. But just looking at the Sinister Syndicate, I was also interested in the swap build. I didn't find anybody that I was like, yes, like let's build around that. So maybe it's kind of like what X-Men is now, where it's like you play like 90 to 100 points and you're swapping in just a few characters. Maybe there's similar utility there for something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend mention that with the Iron Spider Prime, you can play non-theme also, and just give everybody Sinister Syndicate, which would be good if you're like running Maggot or something like that. You can give all them, because it gives the bystanders Sinister Syndicate as well. So every character on your team has Sinister Syndicate now. So
that could be really nasty. Just borrowing like a 12 attack on everybody from somebody, like it's not uncommon to see. Yeah, I like that. That sounds pretty good.
So so are you guys in general, for this set, are you team Spider-Man or team Sinister Syndicate?
Ooh. That's tough. That's tough. They made so many cool Spider-Men in this set, but I love the Sinister Syndicate when they came out around like the Earth X, also the Superior Foes of Spider-Man set. Like both of those had such cool iterations, and I definitely played them more than Spider-Man. So I'll stick with the Sinister Syndicate.
Yeah, I think I have to stick with them as well. The Earth X like Sinister Syndicate was like such a good like budget theme team,
Oh
and
yeah.
it just worked so well. Like Beetle giving +1 when they copied Sinister Syndicate, Tinkerer making light objects and stuff like that, and then um, the sculpts on them are always amazing too. And like this set, especially, they've got some wild looking sculpts. I really enjoyed watching like Scott pull like the ones that he did. Obviously, like the eBay spoils showed us enough of them, but that little rotating thing gave us a much better view. And some of them just have crazy looking sculpts.
The paint jobs too. I think the paint jobs are great in this as well. Like looking at that Hobgoblin, it is a little sad how he's only like this high off the ground with his flame and glider, but the paint job on it was incredible. Like Hobgoblin might be that's another figure I'm really excited for just because I love the character. But the fact that he can heal back to his full dial, like I don't think this guy's a competitive monster or anything, but I'm really excited to use that ability of getting a shape change and being like, you can't attack me. And I'm going back to the first click. Like that's wild. It's really funny. What about you, Tony? Are you Spider-Man, Sinister Syndicate?
I think I have to concur with you guys. I like Sinister
Yeah.
Syndicate. I like the villains. I like the Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery a lot. It's a good one. I mean, I love Spider-Man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Spider-Man's one of my favorites, but it's just nice to see I really like the Green Goblin that they made. Dr. Octopus looks interesting. I think he could be put to good use. What do you think about the Green Goblin Prime compared to the super rare, to the regular one?
I
Honestly,
think that attack power is wild.
Like, I think it's that one's like a polarizing one too. I think a lot of people like either love it or hate it. I don't know.
I mean, like all he has is toughness and a 17 defense. Like, yeah, the attack power is like wild, but you're paying a prime slot and 75 or 50 points for that. I mean, like, if you get a big attack off and your opponent is positioned to get wrecked by it,
Yeah.
yeah, he's amazing, but like,
Right.
it feels too situational, and it also feels like primes are just like, I mean, they're just out of this world right now. Like, you'll always have Jim and Destroyer for the time being. Captain Marvel is still like insanely good. He doesn't see any play.
Hmm.
So it's like if a figure like that doesn't, I think Captain Marvel is better than that guy. I don't think this Green Goblin's going to see like any play. I hope somebody tries it out and it works, but
Yeah, I could just see myself like flying up there and rolling a 1.
and being like,
Yeah.
ah, awesome. The Deathstroke effect, I believe, is what they call that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like Deathstroke, but obviously Energy Explosion can hit like big groups, and he does have what? Geez, a 9 square reach on his own, so he's not really super mobile. And then his lower dial with the sidestep, I just don't like that at all.
No.
But I do think that he's going to be a really fun piece. I agree with the sentiment that I don't think he's taking a prime slot in competitive, and I definitely don't think he's worth like the 75 points with that 17 toughness.
Hmm.
Even if you do manage to like roll. And I mean, obviously the other thing is that if you're playing against somebody that knows what he does, they're not going to put all their pieces in one big group for you to do that too, sadly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think he's a bit underwhelming, is all.
and I get that, like, it's just the one that, I mean, like, normally Energy Explosion does 2 anyway, so if you're rolling a d6, then you have a 2 through 6 chance of getting a better result than Energy Explosion usually is. So that's That's like good right there, but still, I think, as far as like, I'm only going to be playing him for fun. And if I'm playing him for fun, I think the other one is more fun, the swapped one. So like,
Yeah.
just in general. So I think I would rather play the super rare Green Goblin where I can swap figures and it doesn't restrict my prime slot. I think that one's just better.
100%.
But I mean, that doesn't mean stay away from him. He's still a cool piece.
Yeah, play what you want. That's
you want.
The philosophy at the end of the day is if you enjoy the piece, play it. But, you have to be realistic too. And yeah, this guy is just, really like 17 toughness for 75 points. Just, wow, that's just going to get blown through. And casually even, that's going to get demolished. So I don't love him.
I do love
that rare Spider-Man.
Rare.
The symbiote Spider-Man is so cool. Like, Colossal Stamina got rotated out of the game, comes back in the form of symbiote Spider-Man. I love that. Charge Flurry, taking actions whenever he wants. He gets to move 4 for free if it's to a different elevation. He's got sidestep himself as well. Like, this guy has so much reach. He's punching hard, and like, honestly, that might be a figure that I try to make work competitively just because I love how he plays so much. And a 4 through 6 super senses with impervious and then whatever else equipment you give him. I feel like this guy could be pretty hard to deal with. And like, he never has to clear if he doesn't want to. So, getting 6 attacks in 3 turns, if you can, flurry each of those turns, and then you take 1 damage for it, it's like, what's still alive after that? Assuming he like doesn't get hit, There's a few things that got to go your way, but if you put an object on him that gives him shape change, it's like this guy's triple rollouts, and he's just beating you. Like, oh my gosh. So I'm not going to say he's like standout meta amazing, but I do think he's good enough to try. So that's like, that might be the piece I am just the absolute most excited for in this set is the rare prime symbiote Spider-Man.
He also Rex and sealed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, one thing I was thinking of when you said, piggybacking off of what you said about not quite meta, but good enough to try. What do you think about the growing trend with WizKids to make tentpole figures? I know in Avengers Forever, you had 200-point Hulk, you had 200-point Iron Man. Now you have a 200-point Spider-Man. It's almost like these are becoming almost like kind of like title characters, the 200-point figures, and also not only that, but they've also made a Thanos, a Darkseid. Now they have Spider Supreme and Venom Thanos at 250. What do you think about these figures, these high point figures, and are they good enough to play?
It's so tricky right now. As far as like tentpoles go, there's a lot of talk right now I'm hearing on other podcasts talking about like the stop sign just completely wrecking one-man armies where you barrier somebody in, shut off their improved movement, and then you just say like, okay, deal with it. So playing a one-man army right now, a lot of people are labeling as like a massive risk. In terms of like these figures, I really like the 200-point Spider-Man. I think he's really cool. I don't think he's necessarily good enough to play. Like, I'd love to see somebody try to make it work, but realistically, like, I don't think so. The Spider Supreme, I just think he's bad. Like, having a single target at 200 is such a hard sell. Because then it's like, if you want to hit somebody with a rollout, it's like you have to put everything into that attack. And if it doesn't go your way, like, that's your entire team's actions right there. So as far as the trend for like tent poles go, I like having tent poles in the game. I really don't mind them as long as they're not completely absurd like Thanos was. But I enjoy it. I just don't think like Hulk, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Spider Supreme, Venom, Thanos, I don't think any of them are quite there. I think they need to be able to do more like economy wise. None of them are really doing anything for free.
Mm-hmm. Simeon?
I think this has like been my thought since I've been seeing him, like Gamma Clap Hulk, but like even before then, whenever I see a figure that's got a high point value, a really good trait, and then what looks like they could have like a lower point value, like there's a click where you're like, that would have been their second point value if they put it in there. I think like maybe they originally were designed to have 2 point values and they just had a trait that was like too good at the lower point value, so they just scrub that completely, and you can only play it at like the high value. But also that Hulk, that Spider-Man, they give us like really good definitive versions of those characters. Obviously, that Spider Supreme, no idea who that is, but like I've
He's
seen
a
the
lot of
figure.
people.
Yeah, it's Peter, Peter Rogers or something is his real name, but obviously Warp World or something. But yeah, that's a figure where I'm like, this is a really good figure. And if he had a lower dial and you could spit out a Arachnite for like 50 points, obviously not a good effect. Like probably not good game design. So maybe he did have a lower dial and they were just like, oh, not good. And they just, left him at like the 250 line or whatever he is. And that's my theory. As far as if I think they're playable, like, no, I think until Scarlet Witch tech is gone, until that rotates, I think anything, even that Kingpin stop clicks, anything like that, if you have that combined with a couple secondary attackers, I don't think there's a single figure that can't be KO'd easily right now. And easily, I mean, it took a world champ or several world champs to figure the tech out, but obviously it like exists and it's out there now. So it's definitely something that I think keeps those at bay.
Yeah, I think Scarlet Witch is a something. Yeah, that's an effect that's especially on the smaller maps. It's gonna be scary.
It's hard to get away from on
The
small
barrier,
maps.
the barrier, I think you can get away from because like if you go on an outdoor map and the character's flying, and now that if you're only playing like 1 or 2 figures, you still get +3 theme, so you still have a chance to go on an outdoor map. But
Sure.
I don't know.
Shutting off the improved movement with the stop sign, though,
Oh,
can
that's right. It does do that. Yeah.
it can be really, really devastating.
Mm-hmm.
So the one-man army builds are a bit of a hard sell. I played in the
Yeah.
broadcast event this weekend or this past weekend though, and I played World's Finest at 175 with the Null Sword just to
Okay.
see what happens. I didn't come across a stop sign. That did not happen to me, so I cannot speak on that. But it ended up treating me pretty well. Like, that's like the going back to like the economy of like a tentpole figure. The World's Finest, even when they're double tokened, if you attack them, they get to free attack back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's only one, but still, like, just the fact that they can do that, that's a huge point of separation between somebody like that and the Spider Supreme, whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah.
And so little things like that can add up so much. And then the trait where it's like if somebody lower points than him attacks, he rolls a die 4 through 6, he only takes one. Like that extra layer of armor is so crucial on tentpole figures. Where Thanos, he had reduced pen and free regen. Obviously, he saw meta play for a lot of other reasons. But if you don't have like an absurd amount of survivability and you're more than 150, 175 points, it's just so hard to be good. Like you have to be doing so much for free. You have to be able to survive like, 4 or 5 attacks a turn from insanely economical figures like Flash, Sky Tyrant, things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have to do so much to be reasonable for a tentpole.
Yeah, you have to have the mobility of a team where like you potentially can't afford TK. You have to have multiple attacks like a team, equal points would be able to like afford another team. And then yeah, you have to have a dial that can withstand the attack of multiple figures in a turn. When like other teams can afford to lose 1 or 2 figures in a turn potentially and still keep going. It's a hard build to like design something like that, I imagine. And designing it where it's like good enough to compete in 300 modern, but not so good that it just like dominates, like it's disgusting. Yeah, I'm glad that's not my job.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough scale to balance.
Yeah, I think even from a casual standpoint, because yeah, I don't think I don't think tent poles are really viable unless it's like someone like the Legacy Thanos before he got eroded, something like that. It has to be something really really good, like you're saying for competitive purposes. But from a casual standpoint, I think um, I don't think tent poles are fun to play. Like in general, like you just you play your turn, and then you take one action, you're done, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
past turn, like I'm not really doing much. I'm not really playing that much. Like sure, I'm positioning a little bit here and there, but like there's not a whole lot of playing. I like playing. I like playing teams with I don't know. My sweet spot is like 5 or 6 figures. I don't really like for kitchen table games. Like I don't really love to play like 10 or 11 or 12 figures. I do in competitive play, like competitive teams. Obviously, they have a lot more figures, but and you're constantly like doing things. The more figures you have, the more decisions you have to make, which makes for a fun game. But like a tent pole, it's like the opposite of that. It's like you're not making any. Um, I do this and I'm done. That's it. So
You know,
I
I think
do.
ideally, like, I agree with you. Tent poles are definitely not the most fun thing to play, but in a way, they kind of can be their own balancing element, right? Where it's like, this team can deal with a lot of people. It might struggle dealing with like one target that's, really hard to take down, or vice versa. In some form, the tent pole fits into this triangle or square or however many points of like rock, paper, scissors there are, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's just so hard to balance. And you're right, it's not that fun.
Although I do agree with Simeon what he said about like these newer figures like Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man being really good representations of the character. So,
Yeah,
and that could be fun.
that's true.
Any other things you wanted to say? Like, Ian and Simeon, did you have any like kind of like last words about anything that we talked about today about Spider-Man Amazing Beyond Amazing, or about IPF, or anything we talked about on the episode today?
Yeah, sure. So, the IPF, this is a passion project for sure. This is something that Simeon and I have poured a lot of our own time into. It's also something that other content creators have come together, even Tony having us on the show, very kind of him to do so. So thank you for that, Tony.
I do also plan on donating to the pricing too. I have to figure out what I'm gonna give you
All
guys,
right,
but yeah,
awesome.
you guys,
Heck yeah.
I got you guys. I got you
Appreciate it,
guys.
man. So it's just I just really want to express that, it's really cool to get the community together, and in any way that we can do that, especially for people who, are normally kind of like pushed away in terms of HeroClix. Like we get all our sets for the most part on time. Internationally, a lot of the time, they're waiting like 2, 3 months sometimes. There is so much more going on in the US compared to anywhere else, HeroClix wise. And so to bring more people in and have them experience what we get to experience is very important. I gave the anecdote earlier about, I know how I'd feel if I was outside the U.S. And that's really really how I feel. And so I want to help this community. I think this is a great way to do it. The community seems pretty jazzed about it, and so I understand it might be a bit rocky. We might have said some stuff that wasn't necessarily like true early on, like talking about using a GoFundMe, this and that. We are trying to smooth it over as much as we can. We're trying to do as much as we can. And really, we just love to have your support. Sorry, I kind of just vomited words here, but
Yeah.
yeah,
The
the
reason
idea
we
is
dropped
awesome.
GoFundMe was because we wanted to reward people in some way, and GoFundMe doesn't allow you to do that at all. You're not
Yeah,
allowed to like take in money and then like give, anything. Um, Fundraiser does allow that, so that's why we made the switch there. But uh, yeah, one question that I did get that we forgot to get to on our last episode, and so I'll answer it here, is if you're a U.S. citizen living abroad, can you participate? And it's like, yes, if you are living in another country, you are allowed to participate. Doesn't matter if you're a naturalized citizen there or not. Like if you would struggle to normally get to Worlds because you are an international player, then yes, you can submit a video just like anyone else. And, I guess, did we get into how
Yeah, so I don't think we got into that. I'd like to get into that.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
how
hey, we can
how
talk about
does
that.
how does a international player get selected to benefit from the charity?
So the first year around, what we're planning on doing is video submissions. Those actually just opened up yesterday. And so how that's going to work is that on our Facebook page, we have all the rules pinned. So you can check that out on the Facebook page, which will be linked, I'm sure, hopefully. And so essentially what you'll do is
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna link your Facebook page in the video for sure.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And so there's a list of guidelines and rules posted on the Facebook. So the guidelines are, you'll have to have like a passport or visa. You'll have to actually be able to travel to the U.S., live outside of the U.S., obviously, and then there will not be like a cash payout equivalent. Like if you can't go to Worlds, we're not just going to give you the money. We will be using the money to help you purchase the plane ticket. So at no point are we, giving the money off to anybody. Like we'll be helping you with the purchase itself. So we will have the receipts for that. Everything will be transparent there. As far as submitting like a video to win, it'll be pretty quick. You'll just state like your name, where you're from, why you want to go to Worlds, why you deserve to go to Worlds, a few different questions. So we're aiming to get like 2 to 3 minute video submissions from people, which will then compile and we'll have the community vote on. So if you want to band together with a bunch of your friends and have them vote for you to send you off, go ahead and do that. That's awesome. If you want to just, peruse, maybe you don't know these people and vote for who you think deserves it the most, that's also great. So we wanted to, because we are bringing the community together, we wanted to put this in the hands of the community as well.
Great.
Did I miss anything, Simeon?
No, I think the biggest thing is like we didn't want the decision to like fall on our shoulders and then we're just picking favorites kind of thing. We do want the community to be involved in every aspect of this that like they can. And yeah, the vote's going to be one of the bigger ways that they can do that. Obviously, yeah, I think, if you want to like add something about your favorite part about the game or like your local community. I know it was really cool hearing Andrea talk about how players there are like just completely different than the players here, and like anecdotes like that were really interesting. In the US alone, there's little microcosms of different metas where they're playing different stuff on like the West Coast than the East Coast than the Midwest. And then we all meet up at like nationals and like that tech like collides. And same with like Mexico and all like the South American countries. They've got their own little different metas and their different play styles. They play a lot more fast and aggressive down there is what I gleaned from it. And it's cool to see that interact with our more like turtle style competitive play up here. And so yeah, I think information like that is cool. But obviously, like Ian said, we can't have like a documentary. It's got to be 2 to 3 minutes, just to be fair to everybody, and so that we can go through all of them as well.
And from a submitter standpoint as well, you have to think like, are people going to sit through like a 10-minute video?
Right.
It might be a little tricky. So, the more you can fit into a smaller box, the better. And then as far as like why we chose video submission, we felt that this would be like a more personal way to show the community as well. And everyone has access to a camera these days. We're not going to judge things based on quality. There may be some people who do, I suppose, but that's not, what it's about. It's about putting yourself out there, telling people why you deserve it, and then, hopefully inspiring somebody to vote for you. So
great.
Yeah. That's how you win. That's how you can win the grand prize from the IPF.
Once again, I encourage everybody at home to, or everybody watching or listening, to donate to that foundation, to the IPF. Is it International Players Foundation?
Correct.
Okay. So yeah, so definitely donate to that. Find the Facebook, the Dial H for Heroclix Facebook page linked in this video. And thanks for joining me, Ian and Simeon.
Thank you.
Everybody, don't forget, wake up and smell the clicks.